Welcome another episode of Sam in the Little Shed. My co-host Pravda Dan and Nicole over there. And Roy just joined us today. We are on the road right now, June 19th, and we are with James Top and their crew right now, awaiting James Top. Huge stuff, anticipating James' arrival to Ottawa. And I got some, I'd say some elite Freedom brothers and sisters in here. This is amazing. From North Bay, we got
Michelle,
Pat,
and of course,
Roy.
Roy shy on camera, right?
Yeah.
And Pravda Dan here, and Keely's over there, and of course Nicole's behind. Okay, Dan, let's get going here. There's so much information.
We're super excited to have you guys. It's awesome to all be in the same shed. I feel like there's a lot of resonance between everybody here. I'm grateful to have you guys. I think that you guys are frontline freedom fighters up in Northern Ontario. We got frontline freedom fighters in Eastern Ontario, and we're all together on the same mission. Right?
Actually, region.
Yes, northeastern Ontario, right? So, one of the things I think is pretty amazing is that we all have something in common, in that we're, we've gone through the pandemic. As a business, we've experienced some of the ups and downs in ways that we know a lot of other businesses across Ontario have experienced it, and it's been tough. It's been a tough couple of years for a lot of people. Especially the people that are trying to employ others, and you're trying to navigate it for other people, trying to get some clarity. There's not a lot of clarity, but one of the things that I mentioned last night in North Bay is that you guys did a lot of trouble, right? For everybody else, you made it possible that we could get together for the Freedom Convoy, and you made it possible paving the way for things like this, which is going to Ottawa with James Top. So just tell me a little bit about your experience with Northern Freedom Alliance.
Northern Freedom Alliance. Okay, so back in 2020, there was a group of us in North Bay, and we just, were complaining and said we're the ones complaining, so we might as well do something about it. Started out with Stewart's Decorating and no more lockdowns, and we just got together and thought we need to organize a little bit better, maybe figure out exactly what our mission statement was, and it really was just informed medical consent and allowing all businesses to be open and freedom of choice. So that's where it kind of started. And
you got in the news pretty early. She got in the news pretty early. Tell us a little bit about that. You probably weren't trying to make the news, right?
Yeah, well, it was actually kind of funny. So I wasn't actually on the news a lot. They mentioned me, but it was just bizarre because Pat was on the front page, his name, everything on the front page. Nice. Never gets charged. I was the one they targeted, I guess, to get the fines and
no picture,
lots
of charges. Front page, no charges.
A bit of a contradiction, right? But you're probably thinking, well, that's good. At least one of us is going to be here.
For me, like it was really bizarre. So prior to COVID, I was also working with Paro, so it's an organization to help women start, maintain, and grow their businesses. So literally, I was traveling half the month from Moose Factory down to Barrie, and working with a whole bunch of women starting their businesses. And then COVID happens, everything shuts down, and then for weeks, all I'm getting is phone calls from women who had put everything into their business, into opening their business, and now they can't feed their families, they can't pay their mortgage.
So they're doing second mortgages and all their life savings to start a business. COVID happens, and now they've lost it all. What a kick in the shins.
Would you say that was like a big motivator for you?
It was huge. It was really just tough. Like at the end of the day, I was like, my stress levels were high because there wasn't much we could do at that point, and a lot of the women they didn't qualify for any loans, right? And then at the same time, two of the women I spoke with, they left abusive relationships, one of them with a child, and then went back because there was nowhere for them to go. And that really just made me cry.
We talk about these kind of things being a super big priority, right? But then, was anybody listening to these women? Was anybody there to help them?
There was people there to help, but I mean, it was just around the fact is everybody should have been allowed to speak, period, end of story. And there were people trying to help, but again, a lot of them didn't qualify because you had to be, have $50,000 in income or have an employee, and a lot of these women are small business owners, and they just didn't have that, right? So they didn't qualify. So it was,
small business owners are the lifeblood of everything. Everything we see in society.
Roy's got some interesting numbers. Our prediction of most small businesses. It was you hear that. I mean, you're a business owner too, so I mean, you can do math.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. I just pulled numbers out, but the way things have gone, mosquito. Over the last couple of years, the amount of businesses that have closed, small businesses, and now with the inflation and everything else going on, I wouldn't be shocked to see a good 75, 80% close over the next year. They just can't survive. Like I don't know about, there's certain other small businesses have done great, you know, like construction has done amazing. A lot of paint places and stuff like that have done great. Computer stuff like that.
Sellers.
Lumber sellers, but restaurants, I don't know how any of them are going to survive. I really don't, because I mean, the way it is right now, just the price of my oil alone for my fries, I should be selling French fries for like 12, 13 bucks. You know, we're just hemorrhaging money just in the cost of getting product.
Right, and it's like a sticker shock, so people aren't prepared for it, and you've got a challenge on your hands. Yeah. How do you raise the prices so that people just don't freak right out? Right?
Well, they won't come anyway. I mean, they already freak out over the price of, you know, you come to a place like ours, which is all homemade, real food, nothing processed, and we're running maybe $1 more a combo than, you know, a place like McDonald's or something. And they're just like, oh my God, it's so expensive. I'm like, actually, it should be this price. You know, if I'm going to make the profit I should be making in order to stay afloat and make a living, I should be charging X, you know, instead of Y, and Y's killing me. And now we're...
It's interesting because there's like there's enough challenges in the marketplace to make a business work, and then all of a sudden you've got these other challenges. You're being shut down. The rules are changing. The goalposts are changing. You're open one day, you're closed the next day. People are confused. The customers are confused. And all of a sudden now we've got inflation. Prices are through the roof.
See, for us, it was shut down. It was deemed essential. But even having, you know, being deemed essential, so I'm a monument company, right? So headstones. Because they sold urns, that's why it was deemed essential. The government, like I got emails, you know, you can sell masks and hand sanitizer, and I'm like, you know, I'm not going to profit off something that I don't believe in. That'll just taint my soul, right? But the emotional, like for myself, like even though I was allowed to be open, there's people who weren't coming out so terrified, and then two, it was just so overwhelming, like just watching everything fall apart that I couldn't even concentrate on my business. You know, and it wasn't like there was a ton of extra deaths like they predicted. You know, I had an accountant call me and say, you must have made bank last year. And I said, actually, the numbers are still
interesting.
Numbers.
Interesting.
So,
isn't it funny that, you know, a death is essential, but keeping alive or not. I mean, you know, how long do these contradictions have to continue until people start to wake up and say, wait a second, this is not logical. What's going on?
So I got a story. I'm doing a cleaning in a headstone in a remote cemetery. I brought my friend with me that day, and so we're just cleaning a headstone. And
this would have been last summer.
Last summer, yeah. And then all of a sudden, these people show up. So there's the hearse. They're putting in a coffin, and there's 10 people there, and there's like 50, 60 people outside the fence. And I'm like, the logic, like they're controlling how we grieve. They're controlling how we grieve.
Yeah, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Like, who's going to tattletale on them?
It's summer, like, and the people are so terrified to come into the gate. And I'm like, but there's 10 people allowed at a funeral, but we're here in the cemetery too. You know, like, it didn't make any sense.
It's the level of contradictions, I think, that for a lot of people, it's what forced everybody to the side of the highway, right? So when the convoy came through North Bay, we had people emerge like in droves, right? It was amazing. It was amazing. And so a couple of things happened, I think, that were really significant. People found each other. When they found each other, it allowed everybody to build communities. You've been at the forefront of building community in North Bay. Tell us a little bit about Northern Freedom Alliance.
Well, I think it was just, you know...
it started with our first
rally
at the health unit, which was at the end of February. And there was a good probably 300 to 350 of us, 350 of us. And we marched up and down Main Street, and we got a lot of attention. We got a lot of fingers, but we did get a few honks, and we got a few people saying, right on, you know. So from there, then we organized and started going to the waterfront by the boat. And then from there, we had to move. Well, we didn't have to move, but we chose to move venues down to Lee Park. And our numbers fluctuated. Like, we've had upwards of 500 people at certain rallies, and then sometimes we'd have like a dozen of us, right? Because people have lives to live, and
not only that, after the first rally, because like I was the only one that got charged for that one, and then the police started coming and charging other people, and that's when we saw it drop off. The fear, right? The fear porn, that's what they were doing. So some people dropped off, and the whole reason why we started it was when we had our first meeting, it was just like everybody bring as many freedom fighters people that you know as possible, and like 50, 60 people showed up, 7 people first meeting. And then everybody just wanted to talk. They just wanted to socialize because we've been so socially starved for over a year.
Yeah.
We didn't even get through our
Yeah.
agenda. We're just like, let's just talk and get to know each other again, right?
It was just story mode. Yeah.
Yeah. But
What's on the meeting agenda today? Living.
living,
Living.
yeah, connecting, right? Getting within 6 feet and,
Yeah.
and,
Eating this butter tart and being your friend.
Yeah.
That's about it.
We're gonna have to start catching up soon, but just another quick question I want here. Where are we in Ottawa?
Yeah.
What is James Top? What does he represent, and where do you think that this is going to take us?
To me, like James Top's, like it's so amazing just seeing other people and other individuals from everywhere stand up and do whatever they can, whatever their heart, you know, speaks to them to do, and they're doing it for a purpose. And I mean, it's not an easy thing. He left 2.5 months ago.
Oh, more than that.
More
Four
than
months,
that.
4
Is it
months
4
ago.
months ago
Like
now?
even
This
2.5
is
months.
days.
February
Today's
20th, my birthday.
today's 120
Okay,
days.
120 days. So that's a long time to be on the
We're up to
road,
20th
away
today,
from
right?
home.
The 120th.
Yeah, 120 days
Yeah.
in marching. So to me, that's inspiring. You know, you hear about it and you start keeping an eye on it, and you're like, go,
Yeah.
go, right? And you see people gathering in these communities around him and his purpose. And like last night in the little town of Callander, you know, North Bay, there was a ton of people. I was surprised that there was that many people.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
great
hundreds
to
of
see.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the follow-up convoy. I mean, the
Yeah.
trucks rolled
It's
through.
just one after another.
It was Canada shattering because people were like, okay, there's way more people that that believe in these beliefs
Then the Amazon allowed us to
Then-
believe.
Yeah.
than I thought, right? And then that gave them the courage to come forward.
Mm.
Obviously, everything that happened that disbanded, but James Top is like a marching convoy,
Yeah.
and you know
Yeah,
he's
hope.
he's as he's going through these provinces, he's just gaining more and more followers. More and more people are and I talk to people all the time, and I'm like, yesterday, what are you up to, Pat? We're gonna go see James Top in Callander. Who's he? There's still so many people that haven't heard of him,
We
and they're
need
like,
to
how come I
message.
haven't seen about this guy on the news? And I'm like, stop watching the news.
Andre, you're wasting your time, right?
I'm
You're
like,
not gonna learn anything there.
jump on whatever Facebook and whatever other social media platforms that
Telegram.
show all these, right?
And follow, like one of the things I found social media extremely useful for lately is not so much the timelines, because there's algorithms in there that sometimes are hard to understand, but follow the groups that you think you know some people that you trust.
Yeah.
Hold Fast, Freedom Tour, Northern Freedom Alliance. So the people in the community that are paying attention to things and posting about the things that are really important, and then all of a sudden social media becomes pretty useful.
Yeah.
Well, in Northern Freedom Lines too, like what we wanted to do is, because there's all these different freedom groups everywhere, we wanted, Dan and I talked about doing like a project to help bring us together better, faster, more efficient, more effective, right? But we just wanted to also promote all the other freedom groups because there's so many people doing so many good things, and we want to make sure we try and promote that to as many people as possible and give people support that they need to.
Yeah, like it's like first, it's like the same thing about meeting for the first times. Just support, right? Just being there for each other,
So people
and
speak freely and
Yeah.
people don't criticize your.
yeah,
And I gotta
Yeah,
say
so too.
one more thing too. Michelle's way more of a communicator than I am, but I'm on these Zoom meetings with her and everything else, and phone calls and all this stuff that we've been doing.
Mhm.
And everybody has the right intention in the freedom movement, but there's still so much ego. Because some of these groups are like, oh no, we do things this way, and it's got to be so. You guys got to join our group. We're not going to join your group. And I'm just like,
We want to umbrella everybody.
Yes.
yeah. And
We've
that's
run
Done
into
that
that.
one a couple times.
so with the
Yeah.
freedom community, that's what we've actually started doing. And the thing is like, it doesn't have to be your way, and it doesn't have to be our way.
No.
It has to be the best way.
yeah.
So
The
let's
right
just sit down
and-
and
yeah.
hammer out
Focus,
the details
mission.
and begin with the end in mind. What's the end goal, and then work backwards down the stairs to what's my next step. Right.
I
Agreed.
couldn't agree more.
I'm going to wrap up soon, but Roy, Ottawa,
Ottawa.
James Top, right now, Ottawa. What do you think? What are you hoping for? What do you think is gonna?
That's a tough question, man, because I'm lost on it. I really am. I think I like the idea. I like the using the words that James is like the second convoy. I think to us that know James and who he is and what he's doing, he's just as loud as the horns and the Jake breaks. Being a quiet man.
Well put.
You know, for me personally, I keep saying, you know, I really feel this is like one of our last Hail Marys. I keep wanting to say the last Hail Mary. But you know, it's I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point in time. I think it's been a really long 2.5 years of a lot of good people putting everything they have on the line. Some things, the pressure is definitely working. I think the pressure on the government is definitely helping our situation. The unfortunate part about it is I think Justin's ego is too big that he will only budge when he's ready to budge.
Can I say something though? That can be a good thing too, because it will expose him even.
100%.
More, and
It's what's
again,
going to be his downfall.
yeah,
His ego will be his
Exactly.
downfall, and it'll be because of our pressure. Exactly, 100%. It's a matter of, will it be in the next coming weeks with James? Let's hope. Let's hope. You know, it's I'm
I'd like to say one.
I'm
I'd like to
lost
say one
right
thing.
now
I'd
on
like to say one thing about that, and I agree with you. It's like I see James as it's the human convoy, right?
Mhm.
It's the put one foot in front of the other and head in the direction of the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
We know where the problem is. There's no conversation. Our leadership and the conversation with leadership has died, but he's igniting the conversation, right? He's meeting with MPs on Tuesday, Wednesday. Right,
What do you
so-
say, 22?
Yeah, there's
He's got
22
now?
every day.
now?
Every day.
Oh,
We have more and more.
We're at 20.
That's great.
So, no, we're at 17 last.
17 is the
17.
last count
Yeah.
was 22
Awesome.
people.
Hey.
So
Yeah.
does it mean that everything is going to be resolved next week?
No.
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 But
And does
is
it
it a
even mean
step
that we've got all the
That
answers?
hasn't been taken yet. It's a
No.
step that hasn't been taken.
But
yet.
it's a step that hasn't been taken. So that's progress.
It
That's
is progress.
That's major
One
progress.
thing to remember with somebody like James, you know, when people talk about cops and firefighters and stuff, and they talk to them about being heroes in military, they're running in while everybody else is running out.
Mhm.
That man, if you watch him walk down the street, his head's going in first.
Yeah.
He is on a drive to do this.
Yeah, he's on a mission.
And that's what
Yes.
makes him a hero to this, you know. And it's
Amazing.
like I just got to meet him for the first time an hour ago, and I was a little starstruck. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
yeah,
lie.
yeah.
You know, but it's like, all right, man, you know, we're here. What can we do? You know, even if it just means doing this, if it means, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is that this man has sacrificed a great amount, just like a lot of people have in this movement. But there's a lot of people in this movement that haven't had to sacrifice yet. And we all owe it to this man right now to be in droves behind his back.
Yeah,
We owe him.
You bring up a good point, Roy. I'm going to say that when I see people like you guys who were there before all of us, it humbles me. It humbles me. But it also reminds me that we all got to do our parts, right? Some of us have done our part early. Some of us, it's our time to do our part. It means we got to stick our neck out. We got to take some punishment, some sacrifice. And when we all do that, it's done. This is done.
That's what we were talking about earlier, right? I said even if somebody just takes their money out of a bank, you know, that, you know, allowed for other bank accounts to be seized, and they pull their money out and put it into, you know, a credit union or something.
Yeah, credit union,
Just even do
crypto,
that.
Start
Start
like
pulling
that.
your money out, man. Start
You know, your money speaks,
Yes,
right?
it
And
does.
they listen. That was one thing about the that policy that they enacted. It disappeared quick when everybody started pulling their money out,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So that was the public pressure. We realized you can't do that. You can't do those things. And so hopefully we put that part of it behind us, and we can start. Well, we're having conversations right now.
Yes.
We're going back to Ottawa, and we're having some really important conversations. And I think this is where it begins. We're going to start talking about science. We're talking about politics. We're going to be talking about the summer.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people this summer who are going to Ottawa, and they're just going to keep pushing for the conversation, right?
Good.
I think in the mainstream media, they're trying to promote some idea of like a convoy number 2.
Yeah.
It's about the conversation, right? So I think the convoy brought everybody together. We came back to our communities. We got together, and now we're pointing back to Ottawa and saying, okay,
Your turn.
we're going to do it this way. We just want to have this conversation. And that's it. That's it.
And if you look at the, you know, as far as the psychology behind it, you know, humans are predictable, right? We're all creatures of habit. And throughout COVID, they just put their foot on the gas pedal until there was a little bit of resistance, and then they'd back off,
Yeah.
right? Then they'd hammer down again and back off. So we went through 2 years of that. I have no issues putting them through 2 years of that. Let's put the foot on the gas pedal, keep them accountable, tell them they're jerks, tell them what they really are, and then
Rest.
you know,
And rest.
and then
and then come back fully
and then
charged.
when they go, "Oh, I can see," we'll back off a little bit, just sit back and
Yeah.
wait, and then they get nervous again.
Yeah,
And
but
then
it's
we
like
put the foot on the gas
it's like
pedal
it's
again,
like a sine wave, and somebody's cranking up the game
Yeah.
because it's getting bigger
Yeah.
and bigger and bigger, and the noise is getting bigger, and it's you got to deal with it. Like we have to deal with this conversation, right?
Yeah.
We don't all have to agree. We've never agreed. You know, cultures are never 100% on the same page, but we have to speak.
Yeah.
You have to be able to have the conversation and the hard conversation. And I really believe that the hard conversation, like we're having it here, it's going to happen on a bigger and bigger and bigger level all summer long until we resolve this. And that's bringing back some respect, some mutual respect between all Canadians, and leadership leading the way, showing people how to respect.
Real leadership.
Real leadership.
You cannot have freedom without responsibility.
That's
The
true.
truckers took on a responsibility. James Topp's taken on a responsibility. All of us took on a responsibility, and never compare somebody's trauma or somebody's responsibility with yours. You know, some people have lost their bank accounts and their businesses and everything else. I still see people compare. Oh well, your bad situation isn't as bad as mine. It doesn't matter. We've all been through bad shit. Let's just band together and think solutions, because the problems are in the past now.
Yeah.
Now we need to be solution focused people. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. On that note,
Awesome.
we're gonna get back on the road because the march is ahead of us, right?
Wagner, yeah.
So what's next?
Okay. Well, I mean, we're gonna be touching on the matter
All right,
almost
guys.
probably tomorrow morning by noon.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna step out here real quick,
we gotta
guys.
keep an eye on. We gotta keep an eye on Matt on social media. Hold fast.
All right, guys, there you have it. Northern Freedom Alliance. Sorry, it was getting really, really hot in there, so I exited quickly. But check out their Facebook page, Northern Freedom Alliance. Very, very cool people, solid freedom fighters. They're in it for the right reasons. And we are going to move on down the road here because we just missed James's stop, and the rest of the team has already moved on down. So we're going to catch up to them and keep an eye out for our next live. All right, y'all.